if I'm speaking to a builder, your homeowner, your client is going to be more comfortable. They're going to be happier. They're going to be healthier.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to love living in this home
Mm-hmm.
compared to any other home, that
Exactly.
that is less than.
Mm-hmm.
And and that is something that I think isn't top of mind for a lot of people when they think about green building. The
Mm-hmm.
health and
Mm-hmm.
comfort doesn't always
Mm-hmm.
come.
Hello, this is Izumi Tanaka with Home Green Homes Podcast. This is the episode number 3 of season 3 with my guest Karen Benner of Clayton Avenue Consultant. She is also a licensed real estate agent and also my fellow change agent with Latitude Regenerative Real Estate. She has been in residential construction field for more than 20 years and have guided home builders and developers to build sustainable, high-quality homes. She comes with valuable insights and perspectives. I am so excited to have this conversation with Karen. Please enjoy the show. Karen, thank you so much for coming today. I'm so happy to have you here with me. And if you can tell me who you are and what you have been doing and what's your background.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. I am currently based in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I actually was born and raised in Pennsylvania, but I haven't lived here for quite a long time and moved back in 2020. And I am a 25-year veteran, which is hard to believe, of the residential construction industry. I decided at a pretty early age that I really enjoyed thinking about the design of homes, had imagined that I would probably grow up to be an architect. And for a variety of reasons, I went into engineering instead and ultimately focused on construction management in an architectural engineering program. And I have been in a project management capacity of home building, new home construction in one form or fashion for pretty much my entire career. I was in the field as a superintendent as soon as I got out of college, which was a great way to start my career. It's one of my strongest recommendations to young professionals who want to be in this industry, to get boots on the ground and get out there and really be a part of what's happening on site, because that's
Mhm.
where the magic happens, and that's
Yeah,
also where a lot of things can go wrong as
yeah.
well, and we're a lot better at mitigating those risks when we understand what that world looks like.
Mhm. Mhm.
uh, and then I've also been spent most of my career in project management on pre-construction services. So I managed the architects and engineers and worked very closely with my coworkers for the builders that I worked with who were contracting the work. So the three-legged stool that we refer to in the industry of plans, specs, and scopes, those were my babies. It was my job to ensure that our projects were biddable and buildable, and to ensure that we had quality bids, no change orders, no delays. Uh, Most of my career, I worked for production builders, and
Mhm.
so it's a very fast-paced construction schedule. It's
Mm.
extremely important that you have all of your ducks in a row and that your budgets are tight.
Mhm.
And so in the early 2000s, I became very interested personally in realizing the intersection of our industry and its impact on the planet.
Mhm.
I became concerned about that. I wanted to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And I was fortunate to be working for a builder and developer who agreed to allow me to do research into the third party programs that were
Mhm.
really kind of coming into the forefront of our industry at the time. So Energy Star, the National Green Building Standard, and Lead for Homes.
Mhm.
And I was really pleasantly surprised to realize that it wasn't going to take a whole lot of additional effort for us, for that particular builder, to be able to build a better home that was certified. And that was due to the fact that we were already building a high quality home, and that we were building in locations that are really much lower carbon footprint, because we were building in cities, close to transit, close to infrastructure, and very high density projects. These were all, city living townhomes.
Right.
And so that was kind of the beginning of my becoming very passionate about green building and high performance building. And I got all of the designations that I could, got all of the letters behind my name, and just really immersed myself in education and understanding, again, all of the aspects of how these homes come together, what the design team needs to understand, what the subcontractors need to understand and be trained, how we would change our sales and marketing materials, our even our homeowner maintenance manual. We had a very robust homeowner maintenance manual that we would give to folks to help them understand how to care for their home after they moved in, and even going in and making updates to that, and ensuring that our warranty team, our customer service team, was more familiar with these more complicated HVAC systems, or new products and materials. It just, everybody was touched in some way, good or bad, whether they
Yeah.
liked it or not. Everybody in our internal organization and all of our external partners needed to be educated and empowered and supported on their changing role. And I really embraced that. I really enjoyed being able to talk about it and help educate others and help people understand the difference that we were making, the good that we were doing. So I was really fortunate, as I said, to work for several builders who were very supportive of this, very interested in doing the right thing. That was part of something that we'll probably talk about a little bit further later, is that sometimes it just takes people to just say, this is the right thing to do. This is a commitment that we have as an organization, and we're going to do it. And I was fortunate to work for builders that had that attitude. And then a few years ago, I decided to leave corporate America, if you will, and started working as a consultant, just as a solopreneur, freelance consultant to the industry. What I realized was that as a production builder, as I said, it's so important that the pre-planning is done very, very well. Because if you have a $1,000 mistake in your budget, that becomes a $300,000 mistake overnight. If you have a problem that you can't continue with construction because something isn't going together the way it was supposed to, or somebody doesn't understand what they were supposed to do, brought the wrong materials, etc., that delay on one home, to have a delay by a couple days, you can probably deal with it. When it's, when it turns into 300 homes that have a delay by a couple days, every minute counts. So I realized that I was really good at this, because it was really important that I be good at this for production builders. And I wanted to help bring that level of discipline and appreciation for the pre-construction planning process to smaller builders and contractors. Really help them see the value of earlier planning, earlier communication with other people involved in the project, better bid packages, better opportunities to go over a complicated detail with their trade partners, well before the design is completely, finished and permitted. And so I that was my goal with my business, was to
Mm-hmm.
really support small builders in this. What
Mm-hmm.
that really ended up leading to was what we refer to as operational efficiency in
Mm-hmm.
industry. It really turned into more of helping them to work on their business, not on their projects. In other words, how do you manage your projects? Who is responsible for what?
Mm-hmm.
How much time are you allowing for this phase? What are the steps involved? Do you have a checklist? Do you have templates? How can we really ensure that you are going about this thoughtfully?
Mm-hmm.
And uh, so really a lot of the consulting that I've been doing has been more on the business
Mm-hmm.
versus the projects. And I've been able to do that for builders of, you know, code, standard code built homes. I've
Right.
also been able to do it for high performance builders. I have not been picky in who I work with. I really just am very, in addition to being passionate about high performance homes, and I
Mm-hmm.
definitely love to support that, I'm also just very passionate about a better experience for everyone involved in building a
Right.
home.
Yeah.
Even if
Yeah.
it's not a super fancy high performance home,
Mm-hmm.
I want people to be able to enjoy their Saturdays and Sundays with their family. I don't want them to be working 80 hours a week. I don't want frustrated subcontractors. I don't want, bad, um, more bad opinions of builders and contractors, that's kind of a challenge for us sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
always the best reputation. So, so I really want to help builders be better.
Thank you so much for that history. It's really fascinating, and I'm so inspired because I know that construction industry is historically, traditionally male dominated. So you being a woman and bringing this sustainability idea and green building ideas, how was it met by the industry? Like who your clients who are builders? I mean, how do you think was it received? Like especially in the beginning. Now that you have track record and you have a very strong qualification, I'm sure that people respect you. But did you find it difficult?
Well, when I first started pounding the drum of green, the builder that I was working for was so supportive, and there
Mm-hmm.
was such a great team of people that I
Mm-hmm.
could rely on to help me communicate this message and to be supportive. I think that was part of what helped, to
Mm-hmm.
answer your
Mm-hmm.
question.
Mm-hmm.
I think though also I really I value understanding and education and knowing, but I
Mm-hmm.
also really value and hold myself responsible for saying what I don't know when I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's part of what allowed me to be successful, is that
Mm.
it was very easy, or I was quick to admit to someone, I hadn't thought of that, or we need to
Yeah.
look into that, or I understand, this concern, and thank you for bringing that to
Mm-hmm.
my attention, and let's work on this together. uh, and just being more receptive to
Mm-hmm.
hearing people out and working
Mm-hmm.
through it together
Mm-hmm.
versus
Right.
shoving it down their throats.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about what you do for your clients. When you are working as a consultant, working with large or smaller builders, what are their concerns? What are the if there is any? I'm sure that's getting better these days. But what are the main objections that you encounter from those builders about going green or building green or practicing what we call green building principles?
Mhm.
or sustainable building. Yeah.
Sure. I think the biggest concern for people boils down to cost and
Mm-hmm.
complexity.
Right.
And the cost is, of course, something I know you understand as well, and you've talked about as well, that changing the mindset of
Mm-hmm.
both builders and
Mm-hmm.
consumers from upfront cost and also
Right.
thinking about cost per square foot, which is what our
Right.
industry loves to focus on,
Right.
changing the narrative to a life cycle cost and really understanding, what you're going to save in utility bills and
Mm-hmm.
maintenance
Mm-hmm.
and you know so many other benefits.
Mm-hmm.
That is still very challenging to
Yeah.
communicate,
Right.
and it is one of the challenges that I'm here to solve with my new role as a real estate agent. I
Mm-hmm.
really
Mm-hmm.
want to help people understand that. So uh the there's a lot. I mean, I've been attending so many informational webinars lately on all aspects of the real estate,
Mm-hmm.
component. I just attended one last week talking about the need for better education in the appraisal process to
Mm-hmm.
ensure that these homes are valued
Right.
appropriately,
Right.
so that you do get paid what it
Yeah.
costs.
Yeah.
And then that can translate into the financial models
Mm-hmm.
available, the mortgages, energy
Mm-hmm.
efficient mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
And the banks are apparently, really finally catching on to the fact that loaning money on a better built home is a better investment for them, lower risk
Exactly.
for them, because
Right.
the person's
Mm-hmm.
going to move in and
Mm-hmm.
they're going to have lower utility bills, better chance they're
Yeah.
going to continue paying their mortgage, they're not going to have to replace their roof in 10
Mm-hmm.
years, better chance
Yeah.
they can pay their mortgage. It all comes back to it. So that's the cost part. And then the complexity is, it's just really about risk. I mean, this
Mm-hmm.
is a very risky business.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many opportunities for things to go wrong. And so uh, that is, again, something that I became very tuned into and trained
Right.
on
Mm-hmm.
working for production builders. Risk mitigation,
Mm-hmm.
what thinking about everything that could possibly go wrong, and then how
Mm-hmm.
do we hedge against that.
Mm-hmm.
and uh and the home is a system. It's an organ. It's
Exactly.
organic. and
Mm-hmm.
uh and so knowing how to navigate all of the variables
Yeah.
of the sticks and the bricks and the ventilation
Mm-hmm.
system and the windows and the materials, and then all of the acute attention to detail that we do
Mm-hmm.
need to pay once we
Mm-hmm.
introduce high performance. It's just something else that is scary to people to manage
Right.
and to mitigate that risk. So I think it takes partnership, it takes commitment,
Mm-hmm.
it takes the ability to say, I don't know, I need
Yeah.
help, which
Yeah.
not everybody is good at.
Yeah.
and and it takes a lot of education of the what I call the boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
An architect and an engineer and all of these people that are involved early on, we can design and pencil out an
Mm-hmm.
absolutely perfect home.
Mm-hmm.
But if the boots on the ground don't understand
Right.
what they're supposed to be doing,
Mm-hmm.
that's where the
Mm-hmm.
failures occur.
Yeah.
And that kind of gets back to, my very early years of being in the field and understanding the challenges of managing people
Right.
on a site when it's
Right.
hot or it's cold, or their tools are parked several blocks away.
Mm-hmm.
They can't get to the house because it's muddy, or the dumpsters overflowing, like all of these little irritants
Mm-hmm.
to the people that we're asking to
Yeah.
perform a really
Yeah.
good job to build a really
Mm-hmm.
good home.
Mm-hmm.
Even simple things like that can make a
Yeah.
big difference in their day and their
Yeah.
willingness to go that extra mile.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. So what are some of the basic things that you talk to your clients about in building, and both as on the worker side, the construction crew or construction company, as well as the result product, as a home in inhabiting people. What are the basic things that you advise them with?
Well, I think the the kind of topic headings are energy efficiency,
Right.
health, and comfort,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's a misconception as well. People think green building, they think solar panels.
Right.
And green building is like solar panels, like the last thing you do. You got to
Exactly.
get a whole bunch of other things right
Mm-hmm.
before you even
Mm-hmm.
bother thinking
Mm-hmm.
about it. But
Mm-hmm.
I just had a conversation with a real estate agent last week that she thought green building was just Energy Star. And I was like, no, that's just one component. There's all
Mm-hmm.
these others.
Right.
So I think that's the first thing, is really
Mm-hmm.
helping people understand that it isn't only about the energy use and lower
Mm-hmm.
utility bills.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm speaking to a builder, your homeowner, your client is going to be more comfortable. They're going to be happier. They're going to be healthier.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to love living in this home
Mm-hmm.
compared to any other home, that
Exactly.
that is less than.
Mm-hmm.
And and that is something that I think isn't top of mind for a lot of people when they think about green building. The
Mm-hmm.
health and
Mm-hmm.
comfort doesn't always
Mm-hmm.
come. And
Right.
of course, the water efficiency is a major topic of conversation in various parts of the country,
Mm-hmm. Especially
where
for where
you
we
are.
are.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And so that is another key
Mm-hmm.
factor.
Mm-hmm.
I think, but what I mostly talk to people about is just that being proactive, that
Mm-hmm.
forward planning, that if you're
Mm-hmm.
going to take this on, it requires a different level of thinking and effort, and
Mm-hmm.
potentially different people in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Having someone else to be a guide and be a support, and your whether it's your HERS rater or
Mm-hmm.
your Energy Star rater, uh, any consultant that works in this space, it's so helpful to
Mm-hmm.
have somebody along for the ride,
Mm-hmm.
at
Mm-hmm.
least the first time.
Right, right.
And you don't always have to invest in that additional support,
Mm-hmm.
once you get over that learning curve.
Yeah.
But it really is a better experience
Mm-hmm.
to plan ahead
Mm-hmm.
and have a
Mm-hmm.
partner to help you
Mm-hmm.
plan ahead.
Yeah. So, when you're working with bigger builders like the ones that you used to work for, national builders, once they have that mindset shifted and they are committed to building better homes, so, sustainably, or, implementing the green building practice, um, I would imagine that once they have it streamlined, the business model would, work very well. But do you have any uh, case that you can speak of where smaller scale builders, maybe who are building, one or two homes at a time, how does that scale? And do you have any case where you were able to help them to solidify their business model in that way?
So I don't think I have a direct, I don't know that I have a client or a project that I've worked
Mm-hmm.
on to answer your question, but I, in preparation for talking with you today, I was looking for some case studies. I'm looking
Mm-hmm.
for some
Mm-hmm.
resources to case
Mm-hmm.
studies, and there
Mm-hmm.
are several out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Mm-hmm.
if people want to go to the NAHB, the National
Mm-hmm.
Association of Home
Mm-hmm.
Builders, their
Mm-hmm.
website has a
Mm-hmm.
link to a whole slew of case studies of builders who
Mm-hmm.
built to the National Green Building Standard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And these are, you know, 1 to 2 home a year kind of builders.
Right.
And one of the themes, I think, to answer your question, what I saw in reading through some of those today is them talking about, for example, we only build a few homes a year, but each home we build, we generally use the same subcontractor and trade partners from
Mm-hmm.
one to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so once we have made the investment to train and educate this HVAC contractor that,
Right.
okay, this home is going to have all of this uniqueness, let's work through that together.
Right.
The next project, even if it's only one other home that year, that project is going to go smoother and
Right.
better.
Right.
So I think that's definitely a benefit
Mm-hmm.
and a big part of the solution to this whole ecosystem of,
Mm-hmm.
just finding more subcontractors who
Mm-hmm.
are readily available
Right.
and as passionate about it as we are. Uh, and then as also for case studies, there's the Enterprise Green Communities.
Mm-hmm.
Enterprise is committed to all affordable housing that is built
Mm-hmm.
to a green standard.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if if we can do this with affordable housing, then there's just no excuse that we can't do it for all
Right.
housing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so the Enterprise website also has some really great
Mm-hmm.
case studies that they've
Mm-hmm.
posted.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've been looking to find who we have here in the Pittsburgh market, for
Mm-hmm.
example, that's doing
Mm-hmm.
this, small and big builders. And
Mm-hmm.
it's really hard to find. And I think
Mm-hmm.
this is another opportunity
Right.
for the industry to do a better job of
Mm-hmm.
talking about what they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a
Mm-hmm.
real opportunity to improve
Mm-hmm.
the marketing message and the
Mm-hmm.
value proposition.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's about, selling the
Mm-hmm.
value.
Mm-hmm.
And the building industry isn't always really great at that, and it's
Right.
something that I think can really be improved.
Right. So you touched on something that's relevant, which is the low income housing. Um, like you said, there's no excuse if they can do a green building in low income housing. There's no excuse not to do it any other portion of the market. But I'm thinking that with low income housing, affordable housing, there tend to be subsidies and some grants and things available. And so I often talk about the missing middle. There's higher end products, meaning, more higher end homes, especially in markets like Los Angeles or some other major cities. You would see what's considered high performance homes, that can have all kinds of technology available, and they can use all the high end materials that could be considered sustainable. But I've always been interested in finding people who are doing it's in the middle, the lower affordable housing and high end housing, but in the middle there's a huge chunk of market, and builders and investors are churning out homes, a lot of homes, and those are the market that I really like to have impact on. I like to see impact. um,
Sure.
you know what do you think are the challenges, and what do you think are the solutions that maybe you and I can help bring about in that missing middle? How can we make that difference
Yeah,
or impact?
it is. It's challenging. I mean, the missing middle is like I've heard that term more than I would like to in the last 10 years,
Right?
but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
really does continue to be
Mm-hmm.
a challenge. I think that some of the ways that we can address it are uh, some of the things I've already mentioned. I believe that creating better value and
Mm-hmm.
helping the people that are involved in the
Mm-hmm.
financial side understanding
Mm-hmm.
that. So not necessarily again subsidies, but just getting back to the basics of the appraisal
Right.
and the mortgage industry and how they would be able to help make these numbers work better
Mm-hmm.
for
Right.
the average American.
Mm-hmm.
I think also uh, design. is a big part of
Mm-hmm.
what I believe is a solution for the missing middle.
Mm-hmm.
The how many bedrooms do you really need? Do you really need that additional room? What is really going to be the most efficient design for your
Right.
family at this
Right.
point in your life?
Mm-hmm.
Creating flexible spaces, that can be a home office one day, a
Mm-hmm.
guest room when
Mm-hmm.
people come to town, and a gym if it has to
Mm-hmm.
be,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what's going on. So a home that you can grow with, that you're not necessarily getting into and thinking that, okay, in 10 years when
Mm-hmm.
we've got a few more
Mm-hmm.
children, we'll have to
Mm-hmm.
upsize for the opposite.
Yeah.
uh, so I think those are some creative solutions, and then also in back to the value proposition, even if we can't get the appraisers and the mortgage lenders to help solve that problem,
Mm-hmm.
talking about it, just
Yeah.
really showing the numbers ourselves,
Right.
to the people that are going to buy and live in these homes, and helping them understand the
Mm-hmm.
reality of their
Mm-hmm.
budget, what
Mm-hmm.
they can afford.
Right.
Again, getting back to what most people are taught to hold in reserve in their savings to go towards homeowner maintenance and
Right.
improvements.
Yeah.
You don't have to hold as much of a bucket of
Right.
money
Yeah.
when you've bought a home that was built really well,
Yeah.
and you can count on a little bit more time until you're going to have to start replacing
Mm-hmm.
systems and
Mm-hmm.
reinvesting
Right.
major dollars into your home.
Right.
And so these are all, nothing that I just described is captured in a cost per square foot that somebody sees
Mm-hmm.
on a Zillow ad.
Right.
That is completely buried. It has nothing to
Exactly.
do with it. And
Yeah.
that's what
Mm-hmm.
people are fixated on, and it really isn't telling the whole story.
And that's why you and I are having this conversation of informing and educating, because a lot of the things that we are doing in the green building, sustainability, especially in the home, is invisible. It's inside the wall, or
Mhm.
under the floor. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of things that we can't see, and if we can't see, people don't think about it. And that's why we are doing this. And I know you and I can talk about this for hours on end. Uh, with most of my guests, we can talk on and on. But so I want to know, what's your vision for the future? What's your vision for Karen?
Uh, Gosh, my vision is always just to build better housing, period. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just
Hmm.
two words, better
Hmm.
housing, whatever that means, whatever I
Hmm.
can do to support that is what I'm about. It's what I love
Hmm.
to think about and talk about. Uh, the Using my new credential and the new world that has opened up to me as a real estate agent,
Hmm.
I have helped to establish a sustainability working group in our local
Mm.
real estate association, and very interested in collaborating, creating this ecosystem of folks here in Pittsburgh who are
Hmm.
there to support one another, and trusted, valued partners. And I would love to, at, although I spent most of my career in new construction,
Hmm.
I am very interested in the renovation of our
Hmm.
existing housing stock. Uh, Pittsburgh has a lot of opportunity, we love to say here, to improve existing buildings that
Hmm.
are, 100, 150
Hmm.
years old.
Hmm.
And so that is what I'm especially excited to be working on here. And because when we talk about sustainability and green and embodied carbon,
Hmm.
the existing home is where it's at, right? If we really
Exactly.
are really, really paying attention to the full meta picture of embodied carbon, the current home is the greenest one to start
Yeah.
with. And
Yeah.
so that's what I'd really like to start working on, and helping people with that. And I think, my long term joy would be that Americans talk about their homes, hers score like they talk about their car's mileage. I just bought a car. It's a hybrid. I'm getting 40 miles per gallon. Like, I love to talk about that when I got my car and how excited I was. And
Mhm.
wouldn't it be great if in the future,
Yeah,
we bought a new home. And if, the first question is always going to be where, what's the neighborhood? Because it's always
yeah,
location, location,
yeah,
location. Wouldn't it be awesome if in the future, Izumi, the second question was, what's your home's first score?
yeah.
I don't know if that will ever happen, but that would be pretty cool if it did.
No, I think it could happen, and then people can be comparing, okay, which certification do you have? Do you have Energy Star? Do you have LEED? Do you have
Yeah.
Building Green? You know, I, and I think definitely there's a movement. I'm so glad you mentioned the renovation part because I was going to ask if, the principles, the sustainable building and design principle that you guide your clients with, that can be scalable to renovation, correct? So, in other words, as you said, I've also been really focusing on taking existing homes and making it more sustainable, green, however we want to call it, because those are the ones that are those are the gold mines, those old homes that are 50 years old, but they have good bones. And if you can just turn them into a really sustainable, even regenerative homes, wouldn't that be great? And that's actually my vision. So I'm so glad to hear that. So you can actually scale your green building principles for new construction into renovation as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I was excited to see just today that the National Association of Home Builders actually has a education webinar coming up on high performance retrofits,
Oh,
not high
great.
performance new construction. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that, that was exciting to me to see that. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that the scaling is it's a lot of the same process steps and considerations as
Mm-hmm.
scaling for new construction. It's
Mm-hmm.
finding trade
Yeah.
partners that
Yeah.
you can rely on. It's making a decision on a materials
Mm-hmm.
specification,
Mm-hmm.
going through all of the rigmarole to decide
Mm-hmm.
finally, which flooring product you're going to use that aligns with your values and your goals. Once you make that decision, hopefully that flooring product continues to be available and in
Yeah.
stock, and you
Yeah.
can specify it on
Yeah.
10 more retrofits. You don't have
Exactly.
to reinvent the wheel
Mm-hmm.
every time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and one other thing that I should have mentioned earlier with the whole value proposition and what we may not always talk well about is, as I said, the comfort and the health. And the
Mm-hmm.
health in particular
Yeah.
is an area that I'm paying closer attention to these days. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are
Mm-hmm.
post COVID. And again, when we talk about these existing homes,
Mm-hmm.
helping people understand what they
Mm-hmm.
might be buying in terms
Mm-hmm.
of what's already in that
Yeah.
home that is not
Yeah.
good for them,
Yeah.
and how they can mitigate that, how they can
Mm-hmm.
include that in their decision making
Mm-hmm.
process of buying
Mm-hmm.
home A versus home B.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, even getting back to the cost conversation,
Yeah.
the amount of money that a family might end up spending on
Mm-hmm.
health and well-being
Right.
to combat an issue that is
Right.
actually being exacerbated by the
Yeah.
home they're
Yeah.
living in. These are very interconnected issues. And
Very much
so
so.
so
Mm-hmm.
if there's a home buyer or
Mm-hmm.
a client that has, asthma or other, environmental sensitivities,
Mm-hmm.
this becomes even more important to talk about
Exactly.
with them and help them
Exactly.
understand.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are really moving into the mindset or paradigm, even, if you will, of really looking at the home as a whole holistic system. It's including how we sleep, right? And
Hmm.
everything from light to water to the air we breathe and how we cook, and everything is included.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you
Yeah.
and I didn't even really get into the aspects on the outside of the home today,
That's true.
the impact to
Mm-hmm.
the plants that you're
Mm-hmm.
choosing to
Mm-hmm.
use, and the way that your stormwater management is
Mm-hmm.
designed, and
Yeah.
composting and growing your
Exactly.
own food.
Yeah.
There's so much
There's
more
so
we
much.
could get
Yeah.
into.
Yeah. And it's in a way exciting that we get to really, work with that. You and I
Yeah.
are lucky to be in this position. Well, thank you so much, Karen. This was so inspiring. I know we can keep talking for long, but I am running out of time. So thank you
I
so much for being with me, Karen. And tell us how people can find you. Because
Sure.
you work nationally, right? And you can help any builders around the country.
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
I have supported builders across the country for sure, and the best place to find me is on good old LinkedIn. That is where I am the most active
Mm,
in keeping people up to date with what I'm
mm-hmm.
doing and what I'm
Oh, good.
thinking about and interested in, and so that's always a great place to reach out to me. And
Okay.
that my company is Clayton Avenue Consulting.
Mm-hmm.
Clayton Avenue is ode to the home that I grew up in. I was
Mm-hmm.
lived on Clayton Avenue as a child. That's when I really fell in love with the idea of houses and thinking
Mm-hmm.
about them, and it was very impactful to me in a lot of ways in my childhood. So Clayton Avenue Consulting is where folks can find me.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, Karen. And
Thank
this was
you.
Izumi Tanaka with Home Green Homes Podcast.